space, the studio can easily be transformed. It has hosted a wide variety of live and recorded productions, including Digital Rising Stars, Schools Challenge Quiz, gospel concerts, the TEF Tourism Debate Competition, and election night coverage. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it was a location for Reggae Sumfest and has hosted several reggae concerts, has hosted workshops, launches, town hall meetings, and over the years has been home to several TV dramas, including Oliver at Large and Lime Tree Lane. In addition to the rental of the studio, we can furnish a full crew to shoot and edit your production. So for your next major live or recorded event, or as a location to shoot films, programs, and commercials, PBCJ's Studio National is your best option. For smaller productions, you can book our more compact studio, Studio B. For bookings, call 876-665-7225 or email prod_pbcj@pbcjamaica.org.
Apply to the Heart NSTA Trust. Learn a new skill and expand your horizons. Your government has made it completely free to you.
There are those who don't think he ever existed, as if he were a figment of the imagination or a fiction created in the first century to form the basis of a new religion.
Join the truth-seeking mission. Join us for Tomorrow's World, Sundays at 9 a.m. with a rebroadcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:30 a.m. right here on the People's Station.
What is the role of a backbencher in government? I'm glad you asked. They're members of parliament who are not appointed to cabinet. So they sit in the back of the legislature and they apply pressure. They examine what government legislates, participate in parliament debates, raise issues and advocate and question chamber when things don't look straight. Backbenchers represent the constituents in parliament. Backbenchers oversee the interests of citizens, you and me. But how can they be agents of government accountability after them no hold a portfolio? And them and a minister? No. So then how can they facilitate government transparency? And the next thing, them and a front bencher. So how them affect me? You see, a lot of work is in committees. So these portfolio-free MPs with less dire responsibilities are more accessible to you and me. So they help with policy, but it helps if we engage them, you see. So they're not just in the back benches, but on the ground, in the trenches. Though in the back of parliament, we're at the front of their cause. So pause. Find your backbencher at jampja.org.
Dengue is ordinarily a mild disease. Persons may get a fever, headache, joint and muscle pains. The illness is often resolved through rest and adequate hydration along with paracetamol to treat the accompanying fever. However, on occasions the illness can progress to severe dengue, which can result in organ failure, bleeding and severe fluid depletion that can lead to shock and even death. Therefore, it is important for persons who are experiencing fever, vomiting, severe abdominal pain, bleeding under the skin, feeling very weak, or getting confused to seek immediate attention. Let us work together to protect ourselves against dengue.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
To fight crime and violence in your country, your government has invested over $9.7 billion into national security systems. This includes the construction and renovation of dozens of police stations, the acquisition of critical security equipment such as patrol vessels and police vehicles, the recruitment and training of more police officers, and the build-out of the Jamaica Defense Force. Your government is investing in your safety. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Hey, I'm Abijah, the Rootsman. Today, I want to talk to you about something powerful. Peace. Peace isn't just the absence of conflict. It's about kindness, understanding, and respect. It starts with us. Every choice we make can build bridges or burn them. Let's choose peace in our words, our action, and our hearts. Peace begins with you. Together, we can create a brighter and safer future for everyone. Join me. Let's be that change we want to see.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Jamaica is changing right before our very eyes. Across the island, billions are being invested into our road networks, from farm and community roads to major roads and highways. Dozens of communities across the length and breadth of Jamaica are receiving access to reliable potable water for the very first time. And thousands of Jamaicans have become homeowners thanks to the historic shifts in policies of the National Housing Trust, making it easier for Jamaicans to receive funding. Not to mention the record number of houses being built. Never dreamed you would own a home? No matter your circumstance, home ownership is possible for you, thanks to the government's new social housing program specially designed to meet the needs of poor Jamaicans at no cost to them. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
So who keeps our taxpayer money in check? Well, the PAC and PAAC help watch over the country's budget. And one might sound like it just have an extra A, but they're way different. Here's how. The PAAC and PAC are two committees that watch the money. The Public Accounts Committee reviews government projects after them close. They do a post-audit check to see what problems arose with the costs and call officials to explain decisions that cause budget mismanagement. And then they recommend corrective action, so the problem will happen from when, not happen again. But what about the money we are spending right now, the PAAC? That's how Public Administration and Appropriations Committee pretty much means your money will protect as it happen, we check. While projects go on, things are accurate. As government spend the nation's budget, PAAC reviews it. They examine proposals and summon officials to find problems before them don't use it. So the PAC and PAAC are two parliamentary committees that watch over the country's wallet to protect the budget and keep it in check. And you can get involved. Just visit jampja.org.
Jamaica, I can help you protect our citizens.
Jamaica Eye will play a part in increasing your public safety.
Jamaica Eye is part of an island-wide network of camera surveillance systems designed to increase the safety of you, our citizens. If you have a camera system outside your home or office facing a public space, log on to jamaicai.gov.jm today. Jamaica Eye, we're all connected. The Ministry of National Security, creating a safer and prosperous Jamaica.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Jamaica is changing right before our very eyes. Across the island, billions are being invested into our road networks, from farm and community roads to major roads and highways. Dozens of communities across the length and breadth of Jamaica are receiving access to reliable potable water for the very first time. And thousands of Jamaicans have become homeowners thanks to the historic shifts in policies of the National Housing Trust, making it easier for Jamaicans to receive funding. Not to mention the record number of houses being built. Never dreamed you would own a home? No matter your circumstance, home ownership is possible for you, thanks to the government's new social housing program specially designed to meet the needs of poor Jamaicans at no cost to them. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister. The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Your government is empowering you through education, training, and development. That is why we have removed all fees for every Jamaican accessing training through the Heart NSTA Trust. So, whatever you desire training in, food and hospitality, beauty and cosmetology, housekeeping and hotel management, welding, carpentry, masonry, or any of the dozens of programs Heart offers, you can enroll completely free and change your life. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
What can a little germs do?
Pink eye running belly even flu. Germs can make them happen to you. Put
germs and manners with these. Cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze. Always wash your hand with water and soap. Keep dirty hands from your eyes and your nose and your mouth. You don't want to be sick, take care. Practice every day, no germs round here. A message from the Ministry of Health.
In Jamaica, there needs to be one law for all. Every member of this society, regardless of profession, finances, or the area you live in.
I have some bad news.
The company didn't get the contract?
The money they paid us for it has gotten out.
Are you serious?
I'm afraid so, and I understand that there are going to be corruption charges.
Minister, please come with us, sir.
Breaking news. A senior politician and senior civil servant have been charged for corruption.
Thank God not all of them stay, sir.
Build integrity. One law for all.
A message from NIA.
Nah, click on your link for my liquor brother pre that slap bro, we no need that. And the next thing them type a song they are listening online, what kind of thing that some big man pose up on them profile and a put chat to a small child. Watch yourself on social media when you a post boxes, no do nothing too wild. What if your little brother said a post ya? What if your bro dead in another crime video ya? What if your little sister fe take a one pic and it a put up everywhere like it's a poster? Before me share the post the pic, I ask myself what if I nah comment, I nah go click me. Before me ask what if I nah comment, I nah go click me. Before me ask what if so before you share the post the link, just ask yourself what if yeah. When you're there online, make it a new day at the rhyme. Keep up with the time. Broadcasting Commissioner remind you.
Do you wish there were a way your community could get funding to improve a school, health center, sports program, and more? There is! It's the Constituency Development Fund. Here are a few things you probably didn't know about the CDF and how you can make it work better for you. The CDF policy promotes citizen participation in community development and protection of taxpayers' funds. It outlines that MPs are to meet with citizens at least once every 2 years to agree on the projects needed. You know, it used to be once a year? We should really go back to that. Projects developed without community consultation are not to be approved by the bipartisan CDF Parliamentary Committee. There are 26 government agencies that implement projects, usually for a small fee. Funds are provided directly from the Office of the Prime Minister to the implementing agency, not through the Member of Parliament. The CDF unit monitors project costs and implementation, so if you have questions about how the CDF are run in your community, contact them. To ensure no one project or community gets all the funds, there are 6 project categories with spending limits for each. There must be no less than 5 and no more than 20 projects each year. To learn more, visit jampja.org to view your MP's CDF info and tell them how this fund has impacted you. If you don't see your MP's CDF reports, then put them under little pressure, man. Call, tweet, email. Ask them when they'll submit it and when is the next CDF meeting. Change is possible. It's already happening. What we need is you. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Hi everyone, here are 5 benefits of being a beneficiary of the Students' Loan Bureau. 1. Benefit from our 99% approval rate. 2. Benefit from our low interest rate, so less burden when you need to repay. 3. Benefit from the fact that we require no collateral when applying. 4. We're giving you more time to focus on your studies while we focus on the financing. No need to worry about repaying while in school. Number 5. Receive a 14 months grace period after your graduation date before you enter repayment. Don't forget to follow us on all SLB platforms for more SLB info.
Peace begins with us. Every act of kindness,
Every step towards understanding brings us closer to a brighter tomorrow. Let's choose unity, compassion, and hope. Together, we can build a future where peace reigns.
Brighter tomorrow starting today.
Speeding kills. Obey the speed limit. A message from the Road Safety Unit in the Ministry of Transport and Mining.
Cook it up and make we steam it. Fresh so me need it. Tilapia a real fish. Cook it up and make we roast it. Farm fresh so me need it. Tilapia a real fish. Grow smart at the best part. Food for thought so me have to eat smart. Easy cash, fully net. A tilapia so you don't know what's next. Cook it up and make we fry it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Bring home the best in freshwater fish. High content of vitamin B3, protein and potassium. Tilapia, simple, healthy, delicious.
This season, we took you inside Jamaica's transformation. From faster, smarter public services to bold programs that fuel growth and opportunity, we explored how government is modernizing the way it works for you. We unpacked game-changing initiatives like the new electronic motor vehicle registration system, the extended student loan repayment options, and the massive digital push led by Jamaica's ICT Authority. It's been a season of progress, innovation, and impact. And here's your front row seat to all of it. Hi, I'm Suzelle Ray, and welcome to the season finale of Finance Matters. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow the Ministry of Finance on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Threads to see all the episodes and highlights.
Most Jamaicans will tell you corruption in politics is deep-rooted, and I just saw it set, and nothing can do about that. But actually, there is, and another 152 countries are doing it. It's called asset declaration, and it works best where citizens themselves understand it and help to ensure the law is enforced. Corruption happens when public officials abuse their power to benefit themselves, family, or associates. Jamaica's Integrity Commission Act was designed to prevent corruption, and here are 5 things you should know. 1. Under this law, every year MPs and senators must report what they earn, own, and owe, and if they don't, they'll be sanctioned. 2. Their report must include the same kind of information for their wife or husband and children. 3. If they get a gift worth more than $100,000 from anyone who's not family, they must declare it. 4. A summary of the declarations of our Prime Minister and opposition leader must be published where the public can read it. 5. Parliamentarians can now be prosecuted by the Integrity Commission. They can be fined up to $2 million or serve up to 2 years in prison if they don't file their declaration or if they give false information, and $500,000 for not filing on time or ignoring requests for information. Unfortunately, our parliamentarians made changes that prevent the public from knowing when they've broken the law or when they're being investigated. We really need to change that. Visit jampja.org to find out more about the Act and to track if your MP is obeying this law. If they're not, JAMP's MP Tracker will help you write, tweet, or call your MP. Ask them, you submit your declaration yet? The Integrity Commission clear you? Let's help the Parliament stay honest. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
You sure this is okay?
Relationships can get complicated.
You've avoided seeing me now for almost a year, but you still take my calls. It simply means you're not over me yet.
Okay.
Some relationships stay complicated.
I am done taking it easy, Danny. and wasted a lot of my time with Stanley. You know what? Let me just silence this altogether.
It's Stanley, isn't it?
What do you expect from me, Stanley?
Just forgive me.
Crocodile tears? Once a cheater, always a cheater.
When there's trouble in paradise, what do? Watch the story unfold in a brand new season of Mirrors in Paradise, Saturdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 6:30 p.m. right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We on the road to republic. Well then, let's propel we nation moving forward in a new direction. True independence, that's the projection. No more dependency, it's the best plan. Yes, we know what's best for us, cause we want we country prosperous. So make we just pull together as the general public while on the road to republic. Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We on the road to republic.
A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
We on the road to republic.
Why me I call you so much time and I not get you? Sorry I lick you again yesterday. You know me mess up, but you can't wear them something there road and I expect me to react. I know I'm jealous and fool and easy to lose my temper, but call me back here.
Still not get tired.
Hey girl, think me have to call your phone? You know who you deal with? You think I want lick me again next time? Eh?
It doesn't have to be this way. You can leave an abusive relationship. Just call 876-553-0372. We will help you.
Jamaica improve, heart free, wages increase, housing scheme a bill up, we have more opportunities, roads build and the dollar stable. We are building Jamaica.
When the storm rages and the world feels shaken, remember our strength lies in unity. It's in coming together, sharing hope, and standing shoulder to shoulder that we find resilience. Every act of kindness, every word of encouragement builds a brighter tomorrow. We are stronger as one. Our courage, compassion, and hope will light the way forward. Together we rise. Together we rebuild. Because hope is never lost when we stand united, because we are stronger together.
No more guarantors for student loan. Your government cares about your education, and we don't want you to ever have to worry about going to university. The Students' Loan Bureau has a loan for you, so you can focus on your future.
Each year, the Jamaican Parliament approves billions in tax dollars to buy goods and services for
counsel, wisdom, and understanding. We thine unworthy servants here gathered together in thy name, do most humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us with all our consultations. And grant that, we having thy fear always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and partial affections, the result of all our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the the safety, honor, and happiness of the King, the public weal, peace and tranquility of the island, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
This meeting of the Honourable Senate of Jamaica is called to order on Friday, December 19th, 2025. And before we begin the business of the day, just make two notes. One of them relates to the fact that the former Senator, Minister Matthew Samuda, who is the Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change, was recently elected as President of United Nations Environment Assembly at its meeting in Nairobi in Kenya. It's certainly a very important thing personally for the Minister, but also for Jamaica. And as a former Senator, I just bring it to your attention. And we well remember in the Senate in 2016, as a first-time parliamentarian and member of the Senate, Senator Samuda had brought a private member's motion proposing a ban on single-use plastics and styrofoam containers. So, well, certainly from a personal point of view, and I think that the Senate can indicate a level of pride in his achievement as an individual, as a minister of the government of Jamaica, and a former senator. And we do remember at the same time that he had worked very closely with former Senator Fraser Binns, and both of them had made sterling contributions to the regime as it relates to climate change and the environment. So I offer my personal congratulations to him. We also note that the Grace Kennedy, the chairman of Grace Kennedy, has recently indicated that it was their intention to rename the Grace building downtown, the new structure in front of the Ministry of Finance. It was their intention to rename it the Don Webby building, which of course is a fitting tribute to our former Senator Don Webby. Make those two observations. Statements by ministers.
Mr. President,
Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith.
Mr. President, if I might ask your leave for us to suspend the order of the agenda to allow us to take other matters while we wait for the printed copy of the statement. I understand that members usually prefer to follow along, and I understand it hasn't quite reached us as yet.
It's not a problem, Minister.
Unless that has changed since we made the request.
We can recommit the matter when the time comes.
Thank you.
And of course, I neglected to point out that Senator Brown is online. Seek permission of the members of the Senate for him to join us remotely. Those in favor? Welcome, Senator Brown. Can you hear me?
Thank you, President. I'm here. Thank you. All the best to the team.
Okay, thank you very much. Announcements.
Laid on the table of the Senate are the following: Annual report of the Management Institute for National Development, MIND, for the financial year 2024-2025 and its related ministry paper numbered 47 of 2025, titled Annual Report of the Management Institute for National Development, MIND, for the financial year 2024-2025. Annual reports of the Export-Import Bank of Jamaica, Exim Bank, for the financial year 2023-2024. Independent Fiscal Commission's validation of fiscal impact of Hurricane Melissa for the suspension of fiscal rules for the financial year 2025-2026. Report of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee on its deliberations on the third supplementary estimates 2025-2026, the Jamaica Public Body's second supplementary estimates of revenues and expenditure for the year ending March 2026, and the fiscal policy paper for the financial year 2025-2026 interim report. The law reform, zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, extension of period of operation number 2 orders 2025 and their respective resolutions in respect of 1, the Mount Salem community and environs in the parish of St. James Zone, 2, the Denham Town Community Zone, 3, the Greenwich Town Zone, 4, the Parade Gardens Zone, 5, the Norwood community in the parish of St. James Zone, 6, the Savannah Lamar Zone, and 7, the Augustown Zone, under the law reform, Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act of 2017. Ministry papers numbered 48 to 54 of 2025, titled The Law Reform, Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, Social Interventions, June 5, 2025 to November 28, 2025, dated November 28, 2025, in respect of 1, the Mount Salem Community Zone, 2, the Denham Town Community Zone, 3, the Greenwich Town Zone, 4, the Parade Garden Zone, 5, the Norwood Community Zone, 6, the Savannah Lamar Zone, and 7, the Augustown Community Zone. The Trade Standard Incandescent Light Sources Prohibition excerpt under License Order 2025 and Resolution under the Trade Act. And finally, the Auditor General's Department Special Audit Reports, Houses of Parliament. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Bills brought from the Honourable House of Representatives.
The following is a message from the Speaker of the House of Representatives. I have the honour to advise the Honourable Senate that on the 9th day of December 2025, a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Act was passed in the House of Representatives without amendment. Most Honourable Juliet Holness, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Thank you.
Mr.
Minister?
President, I wish to signify my willingness to take charge of the bill.
A bill shortly entitled the Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendment Act 2025, read a first time.
Mr. President, I beg to give notice of second reading of the bill.
Thank you very much. Petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally.
Mr. President, I beg to give notice on behalf of the Minister for Industry, Investment and Commerce that at the next meeting of the Senate, I will move to introduce and have read a first time a bill shortly entitled the Jamaica Promotions Corporation Amendment Act 2025. Oh, sorry. I also beg to give notice, Mr. President, on behalf of the Minister responsible for Industry, Investment and Commerce, that at the next meeting of the Senate will be moved the Trade Standard Incandescent Light Sources Prohibition except under License Order 2025 resolution. Whereas Section 8(1)(a), B, and C, respectively, of the Trade Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, provides that the Minister may by order A, prohibit absolutely the importation or exportation of goods or any class or description of goods from or to any country, B, prohibit the importation or exportation of goods or any class or description of goods from or to any country, except under the authority of a license granted by the Minister, C, regulate the distribution, purchase, or sale of goods or any class or description of goods. And whereas Section 10(1) of the Act provides that, notwithstanding anything contained in the Interpretation Act, an order made by the Minister under Section 8 may provide that, subject to an affirmative resolution in respect of any breach to which subsection 2 refers, that the offender shall be liable on summary conviction thereof before a parish court to such fine not exceeding $2 million or to such term of imprisonment with or without hard labor not exceeding 2 years as may be prescribed therein. And whereas Section 10(2) of the Act states that where under any such order the importation of goods or any class or description of goods from any country is prohibited, except under the authority of a license granted by the Minister, any goods imported in breach of such prohibition shall be deemed to be prohibited goods within the meaning of the Customs Act, which have been imported contrary to the prohibition against their importation, and the provision of Section 210 of the Act shall apply accordingly. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Honourable Senate as follows. This resolution may be cited as the Trade Standard Incandescent Light Sources Prohibition, except under the License Order 2025 Resolution, and 2, the Trade Standard Incandescent Light Sources Prohibition, except under License Order 2025 Resolution, which was laid on the table of the Senate on the 19th day of December 2025, is hereby affirmed. Mr. President, I beg to also give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate, I will move the following motion. Whereas subsection 1G of Section 41 of the Constitution of Jamaica requires a member of this Senate to vacate his seat if any firm in which he is a partner or any company of which he is a director or manager becomes a party to any contract with the government of Jamaica for or on account of the public service, or if he becomes a partner in a firm or a director or manager of a company which is a party to any such contract. And whereas Senator Keisha Anderson is the CEO and an executive director of Image Plus Consultants, which may from time to time enter into contracts with the government of Jamaica and its affiliated agencies, be it resolved that this Honourable Senate, pursuant to subsection 1G1 of Section 41 of the Constitution of Jamaica, and in recognition of her having disclosed her interests, exempt the said senator from vacating her seat for reasons as aforesaid. Mr. President, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion. Mr. President, I also beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate, I will move the following motion. Whereas subsection 1F of Section 41 of the Constitution of Jamaica requires a member of the Senate to vacate his seat if he becomes a party to any contract with the government of Jamaica for or on account of the public service, and whereas subsection 1G of Section 41 of the Constitution of Jamaica requires a member of the Senate to vacate his seat if any firm in which he's a partner or any company of which he's a director or manager becomes a party to any contract with the government of Jamaica for or on account of the public service, or if he becomes a partner in a firm or a director or manager of a company which is a party to any such contract. And whereas Senator Rosemary Bennett Cooper is a partner in the law firm Bennett Cooper Smith, which may from time to time enter into contracts with the government of Jamaica and its affiliated agencies. And whereas Senator Rosemary Bennett Cooper is a consultant who may from time to time enter into contracts with the government of Jamaica and its affiliated agencies, be it resolved that this Honourable Senate, pursuant to subsections 1F1 and 1G1 of Section 41 of the Constitution, and in recognition of her having disclosed her interests, exempt the said senator from vacating her seat for reasons as aforesaid. And Mr. President, I beg to give notice also that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of standing orders to enable me to take this motion. Mr. President, I also beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that notwithstanding Standing Order number 66.3 And in accordance with Standing Orders number 66-1A and 67, this Honourable Senate appoints a Standing Orders Committee comprising the following members: Senator Thomas Tavares Finson as Chair, Senator Charles Sinclair, Senator Rosemary Bennett Cooper, Senator Cavan Gale, Senator Christian Tavares Finson, Senator Marlon Morgan, Senator Lincoln Ramon Fitzhenley, Senator Floyd Morris, Senator Donna Scott Motley, and Senator Alan Bernard. Be it resolved that notwithstanding Standing Order number 66-3 and in accordance with Standing Order numbers 66, 1B, and 68, this Honourable Senate appoints a Committee of Privileges comprising the following members: Senator Thomas Tavares Finson, Senator Charles Sinclair, Senator Cavan Gale, and Senator Maziki Thame, and Senator Floyd Morris. Be it resolved that notwithstanding Standing Order 66-3 and in accordance with Standing Orders 66-1C and 69, this Honourable Senate appoints a Regulations Committee comprising the following members: Senator Shireen Golding Campbell, Chair, Senator Rosemary Bennett Cooper, Senator Christian Tavares Finson, Senator Marlon Morgan, Senator Keith Duncan, Senator Cleveland Tomlinson, Senator Ramon Small Ferguson, and Senator Keisha Anderson. Be it resolved that notwithstanding Standing Order 66-3 and in accordance with Standing Orders number 66-1D and 70, this Honourable Senate appoints a Senate Committee comprising the following members: Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith as Chair, Senator Charles Sinclair, Senator Cavan Gale, Senator Keith Duncan, Senator Rosemary Bennett Cooper, Senator Ramon Small Ferguson, Senator Alan Bernard, and Senator Keisha Anderson. And be it resolved that this Honourable Senate appoints a committee comprising the following members: Senator Charles Sinclair, Senator Rosemary Bennett Cooper, Senator Keith Duncan, Senator Shireen Golding Campbell, Senator Maziki Thame, and Senator Cleveland Tomlinson, to sit with a similar committee as appointed by the House of Representatives to consider and report on private bills. And be it resolved that in accordance with Standing Order number 78, this Honourable Senate appoints a caucus of women parliamentarians comprising all female members of the Senate to sit jointly with a similar committee to be appointed by the House of Representatives. Mr. President, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take these motions.
Thank you very much, Minister. Questions and answers to questions. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to the sitting of the Senate. Motions for leave to introduce bills. The presentation of bills without the leave of the Senate first obtained.
Mr. President, I now move for the suspension of standing orders to enable me to take the first reading of a bill shortly entitled the Jamaica Promotions Corporation Amendment Act 2025.
Thank you very much. Members would have heard the question. Those in favor? Against? Minister?
Mr. President, I now move that a bill shortly entitled the Jamaica Promotions Corporation Amendment Act 2025 be read a first time.
The Jamaica Promotions Corporation Amendment Act 2025 read a first time.
Mr. President, I beg to give notice of second reading of the bill.
Thank you, Minister. Public business, Minister.
Mr. President, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders in order for me to take the motions, notice of which I gave earlier, en bloc.
Yeah, okay, so you're going to do, as you said, en bloc, okay. Well, members would have heard the question. Those in favor? Sorry.
Observation that I want to make. The mic is on?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. In the naming the Standing Orders Committee, the Minister mentioned 2 members of the executive to the Standing Orders Committee, and certainly from my observation over the years and practice, that has never been the case where a member of the executive sits on that committee. So I would like for that to be checked to make sure that it's in order.
Yes, I discussed it with the minister, and we'll make the relevant check, and if there's a change necessary, we'll do so. Go ahead, Minister. Pardon? Okay. Members would have heard the motion. Those in favor? Against? Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister.
Mr. President, I want to thank colleagues for their accommodation of the slight adjustment made to the order of the matters before us on the agenda today, and I would like to ask for recommittal of the item statements by ministers.
Thank you very much. Members would have heard and recognized why this is happening. So those in favor? Okay, so the matter statements by ministers is recommitted, and Minister Johnson-Smith, you are recognized. You can hand out the document, please.
Mr. President, as today is the last sitting before the Christmas recess, I am sure we are all agreed that it would be entirely in order that we close on a note of gratitude. As members are aware, Jamaica's response to the devastation wrought by Hurricane Melissa has been supplemented and amplified by the solidarity and support of our international friends and partners. And today I would like to not only place our gratitude on the record of Hansard, as has been already expressed elsewhere, but to elaborate on the extent of their generosity of spirit and support. But Mr. President, before we engage in that exercise of gratitude, I want to start by acknowledging all the expressions of deep sympathy that have been conveyed to the government and people of Jamaica in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. We express also our deepest sympathies to the families of the 45 persons whose lives were lost and those who are still missing. We also express our solidarity and hope for the comfort to the thousands of Jamaicans in the parishes most severely affected who have lost homes, possessions, and livelihoods. Mr. President, even as we express, or rather address our own circumstances in Jamaica, I would also like to invite the attention of the nation to the plight of our friends in the international community who have also suffered loss as a result of tropical cyclones in 2025. We recall that profound loss has been felt in other Caribbean nations due to the passage of Hurricane Melissa, and so to the governments and people of Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti, we express our sympathies. Much further afield than just 3 days ago, our dear friends in Morocco, who have come to our aid on more than one occasion with fertilizer when the world could access none, they lost 37 lives and significant damage due to flash flooding. We express our sympathies to them even as we extend our sympathies to the governments and people of South Africa and Mozambique, who themselves have recently experienced losses of life and property yet again as a result of severe flooding. The unusual cyclones in Brazil and Darwin, Australia, just 2 months ago, and again on the other side of the world, actually last month, caught many by surprise. And across Asia, over 1,750 lives were lost and millions displaced due to intense overlapping storms as well as an intensified monsoon systems. In Indonesia, severe floods and landslides resulted in more than 860 deaths. In Sri Lanka, 212 deaths reported and 218 missing. In Thailand, at least 178 fatalities were reported at last check. In Vietnam, nearly 100 reported to have lost lives. In the Philippines, which is hit by an average of 20 systems each year, at least 220 lives were lost this year. And of course, in our dear friends in India, they experienced over 1,500 lives lost in extreme monsoon weather events this year due to a sharp increase in heavy rain and flood events, and including unusually early heat waves. Mr. President, we also take note of circumstances in which cyclone activity caused less loss of life, but also caused significant infrastructural and other property damage, both personal and public. Where in Japan, typhoons Halong and Nakri landed a week apart, and in China, where millions were evacuated ahead of Super Typhoon Ragasa, the strongest of the season, and no lives were lost on that system on the mainland due to that system. Of course, as stated before, even in these circumstances, infrastructural damage was still significant, and we recognize, of course, the importance of resilience in these circumstances and the effectiveness of evacuation. We also extend our sympathies to the governments and families who have lost loved ones in the Eastern Pacific, in Canada, the United States, and Mexico, which all experienced difficult weather events occasioning loss of life this year. Mr. President, with your leave, might I invite members of this Honourable Senate and the teams present today to join me in observing a moment of silence for those who have suffered loss, and particularly loss of life, as a result of the effects of tropical cyclones this year. Mr. President.
All right, we'll have a moment of silence. All members can just stand for that moment, please. Thank you.
May their souls rest in peace, and may their families be comforted by the grace of God.
Minister, you can continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I will now address more specifically the matter of Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica, with particular regard to international collaboration and goodwill, other aspects having already been treated with by my colleague senators. On October 28, 2025, as we all know, Hurricane Melissa, one of the strongest Atlantic storms ever, and the first Category 5 hurricane in recorded history to hit Jamaica directly, made landfall. Widespread and severe damage was inflicted on the parishes of St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, and Manchester, and as we know from the World Bank assessment, the percentage of physical damage impacted on the parishes in order of proportionality is set out in this order. St. Elizabeth experienced more than 60% of the damage caused by Melissa, and the others progressively less. Mr. President, though the damage was immense, there is no doubt that our proactive measures ensured that Jamaica faced Hurricane Melissa in the greatest possible state of readiness to safeguard our people and to enable a rapid transition into relief and recovery. Once it was safe for the government to do so, the government moved quickly to search and rescue phase and to get relief and affected communities with urgency and unity of purpose to protect life and to preserve order. I want to thank and commend the several private sector companies, individuals, and groups, including faith-based organizations, which immediately mobilized aids for the affected communities. This complemented the government's efforts through the various ministries, departments, and agencies. Mr. President, if I look specifically at the role of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, I note that in one of Jamaica's most challenging times, the ministry has had the honor of serving as a linchpin for coordinating and managing one of the most critical components of Jamaica's post-Melissa response. The tremendous support and outpouring of goodwill we have had from the international community, including our diaspora. All our missions are serving as focal points for the sharing of information and the coordination of efforts overseas. And Ambassador Anderson in Washington, D.C. has the lead role of coordinating as between them and as needed. Mr. President, in the lead up to and since the event, countless governments have reached out to offer their solidarity and in many cases tangible support. And this has included not only formal support, but informal engagement to the Prime Minister, to myself, and indeed to other ministers and colleagues, as they have expressed a most sincere and authentic desire to see Jamaica rebound stronger and a deep sense of sorrow at the regression, economic regression, which undoubtedly will be part of the impact, or is part of the impact. Mr. President, notable among the immediate response was the in-kind assistance from the international community, which has included heavy equipment for the removal of debris, helicopters, generators and drones, field hospitals, food, water purifiers, solar batteries and lamps, medical supplies, tarpaulins, bedding, personal hygiene kits, and others identified by ODPEM's standard and heavy-duty needs list, which we circulated to diplomatic missions present and to our missions overseas for sharing more widely. I must commend our international partners for the level of care and sensitivity, the thoughtfulness, in fact, Mr. President, that has been taken to the appropriateness of the donations relevant to the circumstances we have been experiencing. Mr. President, if I look specifically at bilateral donations, which we gratefully received, I just wish to express our gratitude once again for the ready support and the donations we have received, and I've grouped by region for simplicity, Mr. President. Within CARICOM and the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, the Dominican Republic, Guyana, the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. In Latin America, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, El Salvador, Peru, and Venezuela. North America, Canada, and the United States of America. In Europe, the European Union Civil Protection Mechanism, and the INPA as well, Belgium, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Spain, and not necessarily part of Europe anymore, but in the region, the United Kingdom. Mr. President, in Asia, China, India, Japan, and Korea. In Africa, Ethiopia, Ghana, and Rwanda, and in other regions, Israel and New Zealand. Mr. President, in addition to the much appreciated relief items, please allow me to highlight some of the teams which have provided critical support. The disaster assistance relief teams from the USA and Canada's operational support hub have been phenomenal. And I just want to remind colleagues that in 2023, Jamaica signed an MOU with Canada to establish the operational support hub at Norman Manley International Airport as a regional support mechanism to be stood up whenever there's a time of great need across MDAs and with the leadership of the Canadian military and their agencies and the Jamaica Defense Force. And this was stood up early in the response to Melissa and has been a phenomenal support to all the logistical movements in and out of the airport. Mr. President, over 300 personnel equipped with expertise in emergency assistance, medical care, search and rescue, and recovery came from El Salvador. Field hospital staffed with 76 persons twice over in terms of medical personnel from Spain. They're all volunteers. 76 came for 2 weeks. And then they rotated with another set of 76 volunteers, not paid, not required, medical teams who came to spend 2 weeks again here, manning the field hospital also on loan from the government and people of Spain. Also a field hospital with over 60 medical personnel from Barbados. And here we also express appreciation for the funding being provided by UK's FCDO to facilitate this presence and operation here. Electricity line workers through CARILEC from Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, Canada, Cayman Islands, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, and the United States. And we know this continues as we speak. Medical teams from India, Israel, and various states of the United States of America, including diaspora teams who have rotated and come even for a few days or a week to see where they're able to give assistance. A medical ship from China with its 300-bed hospital has state-of-the-art equipment and extensive medical personnel staffing it, treated thousands of Jamaican patients, and military personnel from Barbados, the Bahamas, Bermuda, Ghana, Guyana, and Rwanda to come, conducting roofing repair missions, as well as an assessment team from Ethiopia who came, and we will update once they have had their further consultations at home. And in respect of Ghana, because they are the most recent, I just had the honor and pleasure of receiving the contingent last night, 58 personnel from the engineering regiment, the engineering corps rather, of the 48th Regiment of the Ghanaian Armed Forces, landed last night, transported here together with equipment from as mundane as wheelbarrow and chainsaws to generators, rations, self-sustaining, solar lamps, construction equipment, all here due to cooperation between the US, Ghana, and Jamaica, ensuring that they have 6 weeks now to be constructing roofs and other affected personal infrastructure, and they will be deployed in 2 days' time, as they have now set up camp at Up Park Camp, as they pull together all the construction equipment that has been pulled together by the JDF, and they will be deployed to communities identified in 3 communities to start, identified in St. Elizabeth, based on the assessments undertaken by the MLSS. We know that the armed forces of the Guyanese Defense Force are on the ground in Westmoreland now, and their roof construction is underway. So this is the next phase. We are looking to finalize the arrangements with personnel from Rwanda, who will be the next component to come. And again, all of this takes place with coordination between the ODPEM, MLSS on their assessments, and it is really looking at giving the greatest impact as possible. Again, thanking triangular cooperation, where the US has the transportation, Ghanaians have the personnel, we provide the construction equipment that has either been donated or procured, and together we ensure with the housing, transportation, and logistics management of the JDF that this immediate recovery reconstruction is able to commence as early as possible. So again, we thank President Mahama, who agreed so quickly to the request of Prime Minister Holness, and indeed my counterpart, Minister Blackwell, who has been phenomenal in helping to move things forward. And indeed, thank President Ali, who also, having come on the ground and seen the circumstances in Westmoreland, the Prime Minister asking him to assist in that area, having agreed to immediately on his return start to mobilize, which he has done as promised. And all the others, we will continue to update, even as we express thanks to them directly, but place our appreciation right here on the record of the Hansard. I want to thank Prime Minister Motley as well, in particular, who has who also worked with her Barbados Defense Force and the FCDO and SEDEMA to mobilize personnel to come with a field hospital, and they are in operation, I believe it is in Savlamar. So again, Mr. President, it is of great significance to Jamaica that our friends and partners extend this solidarity in action despite even their own challenges. And we express appreciation for triangular partnerships that gives a particular richness to the cooperation we experienced. Mr. President, I want our partners and our friends to know that the government of Jamaica does not take their support for granted. Indeed, we are in no way and feel in no way entitled to the support that we receive. We are simply deeply and sincerely grateful for all that they do. Mr. President, I would ask that the Senate provide a round of applause for our international partners who are here. Out of pure love for Jamaica and solidarity. Mr. President, technical support from regional and international organizations has also been significant, especially those with offices in Kingston, where their support was immediate and targeted. We are grateful to the United Nations and its agencies, which pivoted in their programming immediately to respond to needs as best as possible. In particular, UNICEF, the International Organization for Migration, the World Food Programme, and the World Health Organization stand out. And in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, PAHO and UNICEF in particular, continue to support mobile clinics, mobile pharmacy services, mental health and psychosocial support, and the distribution of wash kits, as the water and sanitation health kits, and medical supplies to shelters and communities. Mr. President, the UN Secretary General deployed a mission from the Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs to Jamaica, led by an Under-Secretary General, to ensure that they had highest level visibility of the plans to move forward with support. And technical support has also been committed to the ODPEM, and a subsequent briefing held with UN member states and their development partners meeting held regularly, both with SEDEMA and as within the UN, on the impact of Hurricane Melissa on Caribbean countries, on Jamaica in particular, and on the plans to support going forward. Mr. President, we're also grateful to the OAS, and SEDEMA comes in for special mention because they have been an absolutely wonderful coordinating partner, pulling together support pre-positioned and otherwise for other partners to be able to send it to Jamaica. And we really want to commend them and commend their Executive Director, Liz Riley, for all that she has done to pull them together. The EU's Civil Protection Mechanism and their International Partnerships Mechanism, the INPA, as well as the International Federation of the Red Cross and others, which have rallied to our cause, we are grateful. I want to mention here, Mr. President, that sometimes members of the public hear announcements of countries giving millions of dollars of support to Jamaica, and in their minds, it means that they are giving millions of dollars of cash to the government of Jamaica. And I think now is a good time to clarify once more that this is actually generally not the case. If there's a cash donation, it is named as such, but otherwise it is usually donations that are made to the Red Cross, to World Central Kitchens, World Food Programme, IOM, UNICEF, UN Women, all of the agencies that come together and deliver support, so that the funding doesn't necessarily come to Jamaica, but it's a value of support that is dedicated to providing Hurricane Melissa support from or based in Jamaica. And I think it's good to understand that, because sometimes there is a sense that there are these, that there's large amounts of cash being injected, and not that we have not gotten an excellent reflection of the recognition of the practicality of cash donations, and many have donated, and I think those figures have been announced from time to time and updated by Minister Morris Dixon, responsible for information, Commander Gale, and the Minister of Finance in their relevant fora. But just to share in this context that many of these organizations, this is how they function, bilateral partners, instead of donating directly, donate support through agencies and NGOs which have mechanisms better able and more nimble to deliver support. Mr. President, at the intergovernmental level, the membership of several international organizations have also taken action to adopt decisions or resolutions which demonstrate their support for Jamaica and request member states to provide assistance. Of note, the OAS adopted a resolution calling on its membership to provide support to the countries in the region which have been impacted. And the Inter-American Board of Agriculture also adopted a resolution expressing solidarity with countries in the region affected by the hurricane, requesting its membership to provide support and authorizing the ICA to cooperate with affected countries to provide technical cooperation assistance. Mr. President, in respect of diaspora support, I really am so pleased to report that there has been an outpouring of love that is unprecedented from the Jamaican diaspora and from friends of Jamaica all over the world. And indeed, the ports tell the story, given that in addition to what has come through for usual increase in Christmas, in Christmas movement of Christmas cargo, is that the diaspora donations are also coming in heavily at this time. Working alongside the Honourable Orlando Terrelong, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the Embassy of Jamaica in Washington has been tasked to coordinate overseas international donation efforts through diaspora and NGOs. And this oversight includes information sharing, outreach, guidance on the drop-off points. There have been drop-off points all over the countries in which we not only have large diaspora locations, but smaller ones as well, like Australia and Netherlands. It has really been an amazing, in Ghent, in Belgium. I mean, we really have our people all over the world have really felt mobilized and motivated to help. Mr. President, in particular, I would like to thank, and I'm noting here that this list is very long, and if my voice gives out somewhere in it, I will ask your leave to have Hansard read it, because it's really quite a long list, Mr. President. Mr. Oliver, Mayor, Jamaica's Consul General in Miami, has really been phenomenal in mobilizing the committee and the community, and I know people have been seeing him not only packing himself, but pulling in from every corner that support could be brought. The late Alcyon Wilson, even from her hospital bed, started with the coordination until her capacity took a downturn. But the team at the Consulate General certainly worked in her name and in her spirit, making sure, as they constantly said, CG would want us to do this, CG would want us to make sure. They continued to keep the work going, and I recognize my staff there, as well as Mr. Chris Benjamin in particular, who really stood out in trying to make things continue as best as possible. Mr. Nathaniel Peat, the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council's UK South representative, he's still on the ground pulling things together as we speak. Dr. Stephanie Fletcher-Larty, the Honorary Consul to Australia, as well as the GJDC Council representative for Asia and the Pacific. Mr. Glenroy McIntosh, the GJDC Caribbean representative. Dr. Yannick Gray Chung, Ms. Dion Nicely Sampson, other Jamaicans in Guyana, the diaspora across the DC, Maryland, and Virginia region, the DMV, all of every hand that pulled together for the Northeast USA GJDC, the Angel Foundation in the UK, the diaspora organizations in Australia, Jamaicans in London, Ontario Association, the Jamaica Strong Radiothon, the Jamaica Strong Concert, Jamrock Charity, Ignite Jamaica Fund, Jamaica Canadian Association, Dr. Roy Davidson, Dr. Laxley Stevenson, Dr. Beverly Nichols, West Hall, Antoinette Chin Lloyd Chang, Throp, Travelers Beach Resort, the Samuel and Eugenie Brown Foundation, Steve Higgins, Brick and Lace, Jamaica Basic School Foundation, the J&N Bank UK, Southwest Airlines, Montgomery County Council, City of Toronto, City of Brampton, Durham Regional Municipality Health Department, Halton Regional Municipality Health Department, the Sheffield and District African Caribbean Community Association, the Caribbean Canadian Association of Waterloo Region, Ontario Black Contractors Association, and Black Planners and Urbanists Association, Fantasy Wings and the British Airways Community Fund, Opportunity Access Incorporated, Melbourne Motivation, the Hummingbird Foundation in the Bahamas, One Step Forward Consultancy, and the OSF International Social Care Services, in collaboration with the Trafficking in Persons Secretariat at MNS, Howard University, Missions Donation Drive US through the Silver Spring Civic Center, Jerk Pit Cube Route, Baltimore Center Church of God, St. Albans Anglican Catholic Church, East Road Beverages, Montgomery College, Germantown, the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association and the Private Sector Association, American Friends of Jamaica Disaster Relief Funds, Large Up Agency, Brooklyn Blowl, Jamaica Diaspora Mentorship Academy, Organization for the Economic Development and Diplomacy in Windsor, Ontario, Toronto Community Benefits Network, Donna Krista Incorporated, North Steel Building, Zendara Consulting, EBS Global, JCG Toronto, the Consulate General in Toronto, Atlas Shipping Limited, Sea Freight Canada, Grace Foods Canada. Again, Angel Foundation is here. Let us not forget the Jamaica Carpenters Association in Toronto as well. Mr. President, this is not a complete list. It's not a complete list, but this is the list. that I was able to compile together with my team. And I say to the members of the diaspora, if you did not hear your association's name call and you know that you have given and somehow I did not call, we love you, we thank you. And please send a message to info@mfaft.gov.jm and say, Minister forgot to say X, and I will get it in another presentation, because we are so very grateful and so very appreciative of everything that is being done and given. Mr. President, the nature of the support is wide-ranging, including items on ODPEM's needs list, such as relief and rebuilding items for homes, schools, and other infrastructure. Donations have also been remitted to ODPEM. Some of them have been consigned to ODPEM, but rather to institutions, churches, communities through ODPEM, in the name of ODPEM. And pledges have been made for educational and other continued support. Mr. President, we know that there are some that are still being pulled together to be sent. And again, we say thank you and thank you in advance for the work underway. Jamaican creativity has been on absolute overdrive as members of the diaspora find ways to support. Resources have been raised through fundraisers such as concerts, dinners, and other events. And diaspora members have offered their business spaces as drop-off centers across the world. Airlines and shipping companies, even when they don't have Jamaican ownership, have provided transportation for free or at severely discounted rates, and even vacation rental properties have been offered for temporary housing for medical teams that have asked to come and contribute. So once again, I thank every friend of Jamaica and every Jamaican overseas, individually and through your associations, who continue to demonstrate interest and care for your families, your loved ones, your country, your communities. We could not do this without you. Thank you. Mr. President, not to be outdone are the NGOs. We are very grateful to the many NGOs that are actively operating on the ground or have provided donations. The ODPEM database has on record well over 100 external NGOs who have operated or are operating in the relief landscape, many with a long history of expertise in disaster response and management. And I want to just mention one little anecdote, that what has been incredible for me is meeting persons who have been part of these teams, largely whether in the NGO community or the UN community, who have been on the ground. And to a man and a woman, they have said that they have never encountered people like Jamaican people. They have never encountered resilience in the face of disaster like they have encountered in the hardest hit parishes. Whether it is young people who say, boy, you know, school now keeps, so just volunteer and I'm just here. And they're not thinking very much beyond, but they are giving. And to the persons who say, boy, I've lost everything, but give thanks, we have life, and with life, all things is possible. All things are possible, and with God, all things are possible. That for them, this is something that they have not experienced elsewhere in the world. And these are experiences shared with me personally by persons on the ground who say, I have been in disasters in the furthest flung parts of the world, conflict-torn or weather-based disasters, and they have never met people like Jamaican people. The warmth and friendliness with which they have been taken in, and the strength of character that they have seen reflected. It has really been heartwarming to hear those reflections, because they are our understanding of ourselves, which is that we are a resilient people. And as hard as the damage has been, you still find these sparks of hope and light. I want to mention, Mr. President, that among the most notable of the NGOs on the ground, Global Empowerment Missions, the US-based World Central Kitchen, which was maybe the first, they were among the first, if not the two first NGOs to reach on the island. Doctors Without Borders and Direct Relief has also been working through Ministry of Health and Wellness. Samaritan's Purse, also early on the ground, not only provided helicopter transportation earlier for far-flung delivery of goods, but has provided a field hospital and is anticipated to provide at least one more. Private sector organizations in Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and Guyana have collaborated with their governments to provide relief supplies, and this is again a testament to the strong business and trade relationships that have been cultivated within CARICOM, so that support extends beyond the formal to the informal. Mr. President, I just want to briefly say, again, as we move into looking at the issue of resilience, I just want to recognize that we have also, and we should recognize the unprecedented international financing which we've been able to pull together. And again, this has been a reflection of global confidence in our institutional mechanisms and a testimony to the credibility and disciplined economic management which has been undertaken here. And this has supplemented our disaster response financing mechanisms. I think what's important to note is, however, that as Melissa has demonstrated, even the strongest fiscal resilience measures are outweighed by the increasing frequency and strength of the storms with which we now contend as small island developing states and as much larger states, as I mentioned earlier. Jamaica is in a much better place than we would have been without financial measures. And that must be recognized. But financial measures can never be seen as a panacea. The work on adaptation, mitigation, and reduction of greenhouse gases must also continue at the global level if small island developing states are to have a chance at sustainable and sustained growth. Most recently, Prime Minister Holness, in addressing the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg, was able to underscore the importance of climate finance to vulnerable countries at the level and scale required to support our resilience and adaptation to climate-induced natural disasters, such as Hurricane Melissa. Importantly, he made the very clear assertion, given the geopolitical discussions taking place and the sensitivities around climate, that it is important that the world recognize that resilience is not a geopolitical issue, it is not an ideological issue. It is a pragmatic tool. Building resilience is a pragmatic tool to address economic damage to economies caused by exogenous factors like weather events. And therefore, it is an economic reality that must be addressed and supported globally. We look forward to building this thinking out with bilateral partners and in the multilateral space, which has already started. And we're of the view that resilience is absolutely critical if we are going to ensure that Jamaica should provide, as we are, provide an example to the world of resilient recovery. I think we're clear, Mr. President, that we are saying that in the same way we have rewritten our economic story, we want to rewrite the story of recovery and what is possible for small countries even when they are vulnerable economies. Mr. President, Jamaica will continue to use its engagements at the bilateral, regional, and multilateral levels to advocate for a framework to address climate action. Jamaica continues to urge the international community to take tangible actions to meet the goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius as a threshold, to provide climate finance at the level and scale required for the most vulnerable communities, including for loss and damage, and for the special circumstances of SIDS to be formally recognized and operationalized across all climate processes. Jamaica's experience further testifies to the inescapable reality that is the need for global action. Mr. President, as 2025 comes to a close, we reflect on a year that has been very active on the diplomatic front, and we'll look back at these early in the new year. I will simply close as I started, Mr. President, on a note of gratitude. In times of crisis, no country can stand alone. We are thankful to our international friends and partners for their commitment, their compassion, their willingness to stand with us. Their support has not only assisted in the relief effort, but will continue to be critical to the rebuilding of infrastructure and restoration of essential services. Each gesture of support reflects the strength of our shared partnerships and the enduring value of bilateral, regional, and international cooperation. They also reaffirm our confidence in the power of unity and collective action. Mr. President, I reiterate our deepest gratitude to all, including our particularly special diaspora family, working with us to bring hope, comfort, and life-saving assistance to our people. Their spirit of solidarity has given renewed meaning to diplomacy, restoring faith in humanity, and inspiring Jamaica to press forward with confidence to a brighter, stronger, and more prosperous and resilient future. Finally, Mr. President, I thank my Foreign Ministry team, each and every one of them who has given their very best in hard work and dedication. Their support makes these positive outcomes possible in conjunction with our colleague ministries. Mr. President, senators will agree that the year has been unforgettable in several respects, but we will continue to leverage our resilience as a people in collaboration with the support of our friends and partners in the international community to build back better, stronger, and more resilient Jamaica land we love. We give thanks for our continued blessings, as even though hardships there are, the land is green and the sun shineth. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Minister. Senator and
Scott Martley.
and leader of opposition business, spokesperson in relation to this matter. Yes. You have 15 minutes as a lead up and then your question.
President, thank you. I want to just formally announce, as I have spoken to you before, that I do have a pressing engagement, not unrelated to my portfolio, that had been set up for 6 weeks prior. And so I want to be clear that I'm not disrespecting anybody when I have to leave. Minister, you would understand how these things work. I want to thank the Minister for her outline. Even as I share the pain of those who have suffered from Hurricane Melissa, there are still 950 people who are living in shelters. Still 90 emergency shelters up and running, and some which are scheduled to close. And 626,000 people were affected. 45 persons lost their lives directly. Others still counting from the consequences of disease, leptospirosis, for example, and we don't know what else. Your expression of gratitude to the international community is appreciated, because there is no question about the fact that countries responded so swiftly to the magnitude of the disaster which we experienced. You have listed the categories, and I don't think that it would serve us well for me to try and replicate what you have done, except to say that we are grateful and we recognize what was done. Minister, you did a very dangerous thing in calling people's name. I know that you are a very seasoned politician, but let me tell you, you never escape the wrath of some persons, and I have got some messages already. But suffice it to say that the magnitude of the response from our diaspora, from the woman who works as a housekeeper and who sent home things to her community, to the artists who could put on international concerts, that had to be acknowledged. And indeed, it gives us an opportunity to reflect on just how much potential, how much goodwill, how much it is that we can harness the diaspora to help us in various ways and as we rebuild. You know, I listened to you, and I have taken a particular note in climate resilience. Firstly, because Prime Minister Mia Mottley had made such an impassioned speech at one of the UN meetings, and then taking the time to listen to Senator Matthew Samuda, and Senator Sophia Fraser-Binns, who worked in complete harmony, recognizing that they had to work across the aisle on this very important engagement. But I say this, Minister, when are we going to see the proof, substantial proof, of the conversations and the speeches? And perhaps now, when we have a hurricane of this magnitude, which they say is completely unprecedented. They can't call it a category. They only call it Category 5 because that's the highest they've ever had. Isn't it time now that we see people step up to the plate and begin to see action instead of speeches? I don't know if you are aware or you could advise someone like me of the real tangible plans which are in place so to do. Minister, CARICOM stepped up, and CARICOM has long described itself as a community of sovereign states. When this disaster hit, CARICOM was there, ready, smaller places than us, but they knew they had a role to play, and they did. And I want to salute that. For small states, and particularly for Caribbean small island states, this environment in which we are presently operating provides both opportunity and risk. For indeed, international cooperation does not take place in a neutral vacuum. We know that. You have warned me about what diplomacy means and that I have to learn that art. I do know that assistance is shaped by global priorities, strategic interests, and shifting alliances. Disaster response, climate finance, infrastructure investment, and development assistance are increasingly intertwined with broader geopolitical considerations. We have navigated many such moments, and I am confident that we will all also navigate these. But I want to ask a question of you, Minister, and I hope that you will respond before I go. How do you see the future working with the international community? To put it differently, we have seen that Jamaica has raised significant loans and some grants. But do you see now that this is an opportunity? And will that be one of the things you will be doing to try to get now more tangible demonstrations of commitment to climate resilience? I say this because clearly we need more help than putting on roofs. We need technical assistance which will guide our people, develop the skills in our people to build differently, to build back better, and to build back bearing in mind that this is not the end of the tragedies which we will experience. I also want to, it was very interesting, and I really appreciated it, that you outlined how the assistance had come. Because there are people out there who feels that all of this money has gone to the government. And it was very appropriate that you outlined that although it is calculated in terms of money, it's a value. Thank you. But we still need a level of accountability, and that was what you were doing today. So we would like to know how it is that we can track the donations which have been recorded, because there are many, many which you don't know about yet, and you might never know about. But how can we track the contributions which have been made and which are in the system so that a citizen can see what is happening in real time? I also have a concern. I have a serious concern. I was saying to a friend of mine who had recently lost a family member, how do you feel when someone dies and everyone comes? You see so many people that you wish they would stop coming, and you get so many calls. And then the funeral is over and there is silence. I have a deep concern about the future of those who are impacted by Melissa. Yesterday in Hanover, there was mourning because AmeriCares, which I don't think, an NGO which I don't think you mentioned, but they had been giving medical support. They were leaving, and people leave after a time. That's inevitable. And people leave when Christmas time comes. But Christmas time is really the worst time for people to leave, because we have a psychological expectation of what Christmas should mean to all of us. And I have a concern. I have a concern about a deep sense of grief and loss which persons will be experiencing over Christmas. I therefore ask you to share with us a strategy for beyond this almost 3 months. And people have been generous. The international community has been generous with their time, their expertise, their resources, their equipment. But what is the long-term strategy, if possible, for you to say? What is the long-term strategy for addressing the immediate concerns? Now, I understand that you are going to have different strategies for different situations. And I'm not talking about a long-term strategy, on which I'm absolutely clear, of how we have to return to growth, of how we have to demonstrate resilience, of how we have to build back the buildings that we have lost. But just like for the next 3 months, is there a strategy for these people when they leave the shelters, which are needed because we need to get back children in schools, we need to get back communities function? Can you share that strategy? It might have been Yes. Yes, I know what this was. I know this was intended to be a placing on the record, your gesture of appreciation. But even if to point to some issues which must be addressed, because at the end of the day, everything is about people. Everything comes back to people. And you have to, therefore, look at their welfare in a different way from, the kind of traditional structures. You really have hard I thank you, Mr. President.
Minister, it's a matter for you as to how you want to deal with the question. Scott Motley had asked that you just respond to her because she has to leave, so you could do that. And then.
Because it really was. Mr. President, I thank Senator Scott Motley for her intervention and her recognition of the incredible work of our partners and friends. And I ask that she share with me the messages that have been sent to her of outrage regarding, yes, so the what about me messages, those are the people I was speaking to, because it is absolutely impossible. And I'm quite sure if I even open my phone, I will know that there are people in here who have spoken to me about sending things whose names are not on this list, because this is an official list that works with ODPEM and works with it is a little more, maybe has a greater focus of the ministry than at the personal level. And indeed, recognizing the individual who sends, it is impossible because the outpouring has been so great, which is why I make, again, the broad I don't know how to frame it, but my broadest expression of appreciation on behalf of the government and people of Jamaica to our diaspora communities and to the friends of Jamaica, because there are people who are there, have no Jamaican in their family, they have no Jamaican in their workplace, but they have an affinity and a love. And they have pulled together and have sent help. It's incredible. Even the people who just take up their credit card and pledge on supportjamaica.gov.jm with up to the $1,000 limit. In fact, the ambassador of Kenya to the OACPS he started with his own donation and took on his own personal project to encourage other ambassadors to each use their personal credit cards to pledge funds to supportjamaica.gov.jm. I mean, just out of a sense of fraternity. And to be able to map that, and that type of love is just difficult. That love has to come from a place of love that does not require recognition, because it is so difficult to recognize all. But so that being said, you know, we express our appreciation and thanks. In terms of you know, looking forward for resilience, and resilience is, I mean, resilience is not a new word, but it is something that has been woven through, and originally, or I think initially, did appear that much of the discussion of resilience was focused on economic resilience, and that has expanded into this broader, not only human capacity-based resilience, but of course, climate resilience. We're speaking about a framing of climate resilience within an economic context, so different from fiscal resilience, if I make that distinction, but recognizing it as something that is just fundamental. To get into philosophical discussions about weather-based or man-based, anthropogenic versus natural causes of weather events, and whether in fact damage is caused by weather and not other aspects, for us, is not on the table. Our point is that having philosophical discussions does not help people recover. And what we need, therefore, is to have a model of resilience that ensures that we're able, in the most clear way, able to not only build back stronger, so ensure that we are tapping into the best available technical capacity, technological advancements, technology transfer, and other mechanisms to build back stronger, while also recognizing that the recovery effort, that people require an immediate improvement to the circumstances which were caused by Melissa. And some of these difficult decisions include the restoration of electricity. If you were to now take the time that's projected and seek to raise the funding to sync all of your grid, when would you ever recover? When would people ever get back light? So the initial decision had to be to restore the grid and then to identify the particularly strategic and sensitive areas that should be sunk, and then engage in investment and loan funding for that. But that has to come after, because people need light, and communities, governance mechanisms, whether it is police, schools, municipalities, the corner shop to the supermarket, and the wholesale, every community lever and every economic lever requires electricity, and that therefore is why so much focus has been placed on restoring the grid to restore normalcy. You know, in terms of moving towards resilient actions, I mean, that we have started that already. the building of seawalls, revetments, etc., that have taken place over the last few years, the restoration of mangroves, etc., all of that is about building resilience. But having recognized, for example, the leap forward that has become necessary, for example, after Gilbert, it was recognized that we needed to change the building code and now build to Category 3. So all of the building over the past 37, 40 odd years has been to enforcement is an issue as well, of course, but we don't have perfection day one, right? You don't have perfection day one. So we do have to look at not only upgrading the building codes, upgrading the building standards, and the, as I said, technology and mechanisms to be used, but we also will have to be looking at enforcement mechanisms. We have to look at how we look at where people build, and when having identified the flood-prone and other danger-prone areas, how do we address those where people are connected to family land and generational land? These are going to be sensitive issues that will require consultation. How do we deal with evacuation at the time of a disaster? I recall speaking with my colleague about how they evacuated in Cuba. 750,000 people they evacuated prior to Melissa. 750,000. While we, in our very free society, the flip side of that very great freedom which we enjoy is the people in Port Royal say, man, storm now come. So, you know, and they're not moving. So they were blessed this time, but people who sat in St. Elizabeth saying storm now come had a very different experience. So it really is, there's much that will have to change in behavior, cultural change, as well as the economic and of course, construction and other elements. But just to say that we have started with resilient construction. We have the JSRAT, which is the Strategic Resilience Assessment Tool, which continues to be developed as between the University of Oxford and UWI, and supported by the FCDO, that is developing, that is almost complete, but it is to assess the resilience of infrastructure to allow us to be able to develop investment packages for construction of resilient infrastructure, to allow for investment in, or rather to the development of investment-ready packages and projects. And that has been underway, close to completion. We're members of the resilient construction, the island, it is IRIS, International Resilient, it's IRIS, I cannot remember, but it is the end of the year, so I'm going to give myself some grace. And then there's a broader Resilient Island initiative, and then there is also the Resilient Construction Development Initiative that was started with Prime Minister Modi. Jamaica is a founding member together with the UK and New Zealand, which again is looking at mechanisms to ensure that exactly what you asked about, technology transfer and technical capacity building, is made a part of construction at different levels. On the broader basis, and I cannot speak to you about the strategy, again, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade has, while we have a cross-cutting role, we support all lines of effort. The reality is that Prime Minister will speak again about our next stages. I know there has been information shared by Minister Morris Dixon, by ODPEM, by Prime Minister about the establishment of the NARA and the role that it will play in ensuring that the very resilient construction you have asked about and other related rebuilding and recovery mechanisms are managed in a way that is responsive to the extent of disaster. But then there's a broader support. There's a psychosocial support. Already, PAHO has provided some personnel to help us develop mechanisms, and there are people in the disaster-hit communities. I know there is always more needed and further outreach needed, especially since we're not naturally mental health seeking we're not predisposed to seeking mental health support. The hotline is out, and I know messaging has been out, encouraging people, if you have an issue, you don't have to suffer alone. You can call, you can have someone to speak to. And there is culturally sensitive material that is being developed with the support of PAHO and UNICEF, because there is a child-based psychosocial support as well, which is, child-centered, but includes the teachers and school leadership. Because another aspect of this will be getting schools back open and in order, because schools are sort of the center of normalcy. When children are back in school, then the family has not only the structure of their time in a safe space, but they are then also able to deal with the home and the recovery of the home and whatever business or work effort in a more structured and, in a calmer space, because they know that the children are back in school, and that is therefore a major focus. And we'll be using the Christmas period to try to move as fast as forward as we can. Similarly, trying to use some of the disaster response teams or the reconstruction teams that are coming in from Ghana, Rwanda, and Guyana, although Guyana is quite specifically focused right now. But if there is excess on that side, to try to build temporary housing for the people who have not yet left the shelter. I understand that there are people who are refusing to move into tents, even though all over the world where there's a disaster, a tent is a perfectly appropriate shelter. We apparently have a cultural sensitivity too, and there has been some resistance. So this is something that we want to look at more closely. And also looking at how we use the opportunity of the technical capacity that's here with the UN teams to plan out what the next phase of recovery within communities will be like. So I can't give you specifics, and I know that there are other ministers who will speak on that, and when Prime Minister has enunciated on the next phase, I will be happy to share that in this chamber. But at this time, I hope that my response, especially given the actual scope of my presentation, will suffice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Questions? Questions? Senator Scott Motti, you're leaving now. Well, all the best to yourself and your family for the Christmas season. I think Minister, I think that I speak for our side when I wish the leader all the best for the Christmas she's leaving, and to yourself and your family. Sorry you won't be able to join us in our Christmas repast downstairs.
I do thank you, President, and I'd want to extend also to all of my colleagues and the staff and everyone a very warm greeting for Christmas, hoping that you find peace, contentment, and recognize that it's so important more than ever to share. Well, thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate your stopping me to allow me this opportunity. You know I would have wanted to do it because sometimes I accuse you of reading my mind. I really thank you.
Please convey our best regards at home as well. Senator Bernard.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just want to, when I looked at the presentation, Minister, and I saw you listed, same thing came to my mind, of getting yourself into problems. But Minister, would you join me in adding and thanking a few more to the list? I'd want to say thank you to the Reach Out Worldwide Foundation, led by Tyrese Gibson, and the Blessings Don't Stop, So We Won't Stop initiative by Busta Rhymes, who would have contributed significantly to Northwest St. James in the relief period, and they have also committed themselves to support going further in the relief and recovery period. Also want to thank Mona Scott Young and her entertainment foundation for their tremendous support as well. And they also pledged to continue in the effort going forward. And finally, the Grassroots Community Foundation, Dr. Johnson Diaz. She has been doing tremendous work in helping us to understand the context with our assessments. And hopefully, when those assessments are completed, we'll be able to share them with the government. So I want to thank you. I want to ask you to join me in thanking them for their support and their pledge for continued support going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. You want to wait, Minister, or deal with it as you go along?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, never have I had a request that I have been so joyful in responding to positively. Thank you. I want to thank Senator Bernard for naming these individuals and these organizations who are absolutely deserving. You will find interesting that just yesterday at our recognition luncheon at the ministry, we were having a discussion about the things we were seeing on social media from Busta Rhymes and Tyrese Gibson, and people were saying that it's incredible how they have been. You recall what I was saying earlier about people saying that they have never met people like Jamaicans, that this was exactly what they have been saying on their platforms, that their experience here has been inspiring for them in a way that they have not experienced at any other time, and that has motivated them to continue to keep giving. And so I want to give you the assurance. I'm sure Hansard captured the names, and I will, of course, ensure that the ministry captures them on the listing. I know Mr. Gibson is not a member of the diaspora. He's a friend of Jamaica, while Busta Rhymes is family. So we recognize them as well. And again, thank you for adding them to the list here. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Professor Floyd Morris, recognize you from a seat other than your own.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Minister. I do support your statement and the expression of gratitude to all of those who have come to our assistance during these difficult moments. Minister, I have 3 sets of questions for you. Minister, you made mention of some of the different assistance that have been rendered by our bilateral partners. And in particular, you mentioned the support being given in Westmoreland by the Guyanese Army in the reconstruction of roof and so forth. A few weeks ago, Minister, there was a news item about Petersfield High School and some 185 individuals in the shelter there. And the Minister of Local Government and Community Development had said that these residents have to move out by the 31st of December. And I want to find out, Minister, if you think that it wouldn't be prudent for some of these support in terms of reconstruction of houses, roofs, and so forth, to be directed at these individuals to make sure that they have somewhere to live as they get out of the school environment. The other question that I want to ask, Minister, is you mentioned the role of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security in the relief effort. And a few weeks ago in her statement here, Minister Dana Dixon had pointed out that some 165 packages were distributed to individuals across the affected parishes. And Senator Scott Motley, in her... what is that? Yes, 165,000 packages. Right. Now, Senator Scott Motley in her presentation pointed to some 600,000 individuals who have been affected. And when you compare the 165,000 to those individuals who have been affected nationally, I heard the Prime Minister saying 900,000. The assistance given by the Ministry of Labor and Social Security seems to be very low. And I'm wondering if there's any updated figure that you have at your disposal that you could share with us, because I'm a bit concerned about not the NGO or the church community response. They have been fabulous in their response, but in terms of the governmental institution response, I'm a bit concerned about that. And finally, Minister, in your response to the question asked by Senator Scott Motley, you spoke about, you made reference to the whole situation of the energy sector, which is of particular concern in light of what is taking place with the JPSCO. And in the Minister of Finance's response in the House of Representatives, she pointed out that in that envelope of $6.6 billion, JPSCO was going to get, I think, $450 million out of it as a loan, but we guaranteed and gave JPSCO a loan of $150 million. Now, this week, we heard the shocking news of JPSCO getting a 7% increase in electricity rate. I want to know if the government was aware of this application for increase in the price of electricity during the negotiation for the $150 million US loan, and if yes is the answer, why is it that the government never leveraged its position in the negotiation to say to JPSCO, hold strain with this increase, because the people of Jamaica are lending you $150 million US now, and so you have to hold strain in terms of the increase in the electricity bill. May it please you, Mr.
Thank you very much, Senator Morris. You know, I don't have to involve myself in the question and answer with the competence of the minister. However, I just need to remind that the statement that the minister gave is referred to as international assistance and collaboration following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. And the statement essentially was recognizing those international agencies, NGOs, and individuals that provided assistance during the passage and after the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. That is within the competence of the minister. The questions that you asked are outside of the purview of the minister and outside the purview of the statement. I, however, can indicate when you asked about Petersfield that I heard recently that one of the priorities of the government in relation to rehousing relates to persons who are presently in shelters. So that would answer that. And also, the priority are persons badly damaged, no structures totally destroyed, etc. So one would expect that the persons who are still in shelters, not only Petersfield, but still in shelters, would get priority for housing. Yes, ma'am, may I answer it? As far as the JPS is concerned, that's not within the purview of the minister. She may choose to answer it, and likewise the other aspect that you are asking about packages outside the purview of the minister, outside the purview of the statement. If the minister wants to answer it, that is her business. Any other questions? Senator, time. I'm going to make a note on my little thing here that says it's Tame, Senator Tame. You have the floor, Madam.
Season's greetings to everyone. And,
Thank you very much.
And I want to return to the question of international cooperation. You know, we share the Minister's gratitude for the solidarity that has been shown to Jamaica at this time, especially for countries that are facing challenges. And one such partner is in a significant time of challenge, that is Venezuela. And the particular challenges that Venezuela is faced with will impact the prospects for recovery after Melissa. I think we would agree that peace and stability in the region are very critical to recovery, and that, as the Minister said, exogenous shocks are an important factor to consider in an economy such as this, which is especially dependent on what happens in the international arena. We have heard Minister Dana Morris state that the Minister of Foreign Affairs is the best in the world. We have heard Secretary of State Marco Rubio say that Jamaica is the most like-minded partner in the region. And I wonder whether Jamaica plans to intervene as a mediator in this matter to ensure that the principles of the UN, such as respect for sovereignty, non-use of force in international affairs, and international law will be respected with regard to the brewing conflict and the prospect of stability for Jamaica in this time after Melissa.
Thank you very much, Senator Tame. Any other questions? Any other questions? Minister? I expect you to address that, by the way, you know. Okay.
I was saying, Mr. President, I just anticipated that you were going to repeat exactly what you said to Senator Morris, because although...
But I tell you, you don't address it and you're still addressing it.
I just want to say I'm not addressing it. I'm just saying that Senator Tame was very skillful in her pulling of one or two words that were in the statement, but literally moving them around in a way that actually were not within the scope of the statement.
Thank you very much,
I appreciate the inquiry. I just wanted to make one point, Mr. President, and this is just to clarify that there have been more than 300,000 packages that have been distributed by ODPEM, that is through the different arms of government, and to say that that, of course, is part of the response. And clearly, where we are, as government, supplementing the work, or rather know that our work is being supplemented in communities by NGOs, by UN teams, etc., that clearly you don't count them in that way. You count the whole. So I understand Senator Morris's assessment that the 165 sounded low. It probably was at an earlier stage or an earlier note, but the last figure that I had was more than 300,000, and I'm quite sure it has continued to move as goods have come in and as the operational hubs were established. If you recall, there were 8 hubs established, and then offshoots of those hubs to make sure that that delivery was actually reaching into communities and not just persons who were able to reach out of their communities. Yes, so I'll just make that point, Mr. President, and
thank you very much. Public business. We're back to public business. Remember, we had gone to statements. So I don't know. That gone already, you know. No, you asked a question already and we closed the thing. I'd asked and said any other questions, you know, and she closed. So I'm back to public business. Minister, what you have for the rest of the day here?
Also at public business, no, I believe that we had closed out the matters, in fact, quite efficiently. And I want to thank colleagues again for their leave, and your leave, in fact, in allowing us to pull these things forward. And I would therefore just close out public business on wishing everyone all the best for the season, save that you did say that a member of the Senate wanted to rise on a matter for the notice of adjournment.
That's where we are.
So after that, I will give my greetings.
I think it was Senator
Fitzhenley.
Senator Fitzhenley, you had indicated that you have a motion on the adjournment.
Permission to speak from a seat other than the one assigned to me. I wish to make a brief intervention on the motion of
for the adjournment. We are on the motion for adjournment. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. No, Minister just said we're going to do it. Yes. Yes. No, we're going to do it. Remember, I have the authority to do most things, you know. Within the confines of the... Yeah. What we are going to do here now, we're going to have the motion, and then we will have a brief intervention, no doubt, from members who don't wish to. And it being the close of the session, I will take greetings. Senator Fitzhenley.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. As the year 2025 draws to a close, and it has been a challenging year in many regards, I think it would be good of us lawmakers to note on the motion of adjournment an important bit of information which was brought to public attention this week, on Wednesday of this week, by the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The data indicate that Jamaica is about to achieve a 30-year low in terms of murders per calendar year. In fact, the data indicates that for the first time in approximately 31 years, Jamaica is on track to record below 700 murders in a calendar year. The data also indicates that for the first time in 28 years, since murders crossed the 1,000 mark in 1997, under the Percival Patterson administration, Jamaica is now set to record way below 1,000 murders. And it's important to note these developments, sir, because there are members of the Senate, as a matter of fact, who do not know what it is like to exist in a society in Jamaica where murders have not crossed 1,000. There's a generation in Jamaica that does not know what it is like to exist in a society without that level of violent crime. This is not an occasion for a victory lap, sir, or a moment to gloat, because I believe as lawmakers we understand that in a society as small as Jamaica, population-wise, over 600 murders in a calendar year is way too many, way too many. However, progress has been made in the fight against violent crime. Indeed, murders in Jamaica have plummeted in 2025 by over 42%. And I believe it's very important that the Parliament of Jamaica makes a note of this development. I believe as well that it is only right that us lawmakers extend our congratulations to the police, including the Police Commissioner, Dr. Kevin Blake, and the men and women he leads, also members of the Jamaica Defense Force, who have put their lives on the line daily in 2025 to ensure that up until Wednesday of this week, a whopping 435 fewer people in Jamaica have been murdered this year when compared to 2024. I wish to place on record congratulations to the men and women of the security forces. It is worthy of note as well, sir, that this year, approximately 17 of the approximately 19 police divisions have recorded decreases in murders when compared to last year. St. Thomas, I believe, broke even, and there's a minor increase in St. Anne. And I've noted comments in the public domain about the number of fatal police shootings. I believe it's worthy of mention that it was under the administration of Ord Golding that the Independent Commission of Investigations came into being. And our current Prime Minister has been clear that the administration believes that allegations of excesses by agents of the state must be investigated and the chips fall where they may. We do not tolerate abuse of our citizens. But colleagues, even as we note the plunge in murders this year, I believe we should not fool ourselves. Our security forces are against marauding gunmen and their facilitators who seek to import hundreds of illegal guns and thousands of illegal bullets into our country with the sole intent to murder, create mayhem, and quite frankly, to kill as many innocent people as they can. And in that context, I submit for consideration that it is not unexpected that in that environment and in a situation where this administration has passed laws, including a 15-year mandatory sentence for possession of illegal firearms, and that the JCF is targeting high-risk criminals, it is not unlikely that violent criminals will meet their demise when they take on the security forces. And we should be clear, we should be clear, sir, I don't believe we should hide and speak about it. When violent criminals take on the police using deadly force, the police must win, and decisively so. And the Prime Minister has been clear that those who unlawfully engage the police must understand that they stand a good chance of meeting their maker if they do not elect to surrender. I'm confident, sir, that most law-abiding Jamaicans will stand with the administration and the security forces in our stance against violent crime. Before I close, I wish to make a quick point. Good policies matter. I recall a page 1 editorial in 2017 which demanded that Christmas parties across government be cancelled and Parliament be called back to debate a surge in violent crime. Well, Dr. Holness, our Prime Minister, has been at work and was at work before that and tabled in the Parliament of Jamaica Plan Secure Jamaica in the 2017-2018 budget, I believe. It was scoffed at by some who demanded a crime plan and appeared to pretend not to know that one existed. Our Parliament should take note of the fact that a suite of policies, including bolstering the intelligence capabilities of the security forces, unprecedented investment in protecting our borders and in the mobility of the police force, along with sustained investment in the transformation of the JCF, those policies are yielding positive outcomes and are saving Jamaican lives. We are hopeful, sir, that this year, 2025, is a turning point in the fight against violent crime. And I believe it is in good order to commend our National Security Minister, who some take lightly, sir. But as the Gen Z generation says, if you know, you know. He may appear mild-mannered, but there is no greater and more effective strategist in devising and taking lawful measures to protect law-abiding Jamaicans than our Jamaican patriot, Dr. the Honourable Horace Anthony Chang. Parliament will note, sir, that Dr. Chang is the only security minister in recent memory, perhaps 50 years, to have presided over several consecutive years of a decline in murders. Our security minister and the administration of Prime Minister Andrew Holness understand that faith without work is dead. We understand that there's much more to be done in tackling the crime monster. Indeed, as we note the over 40% decline in murders this year, I believe it's important that us as lawmakers send a strong signal to criminals that we are united and we're only getting started, and we will redouble our efforts to give the security forces more support in bringing violent criminals to justice. As the late James Chambers, better known to Jamaica and the world as Jimmy Cliff, would say, many rivers to cross, many rivers to cross. But criminals can be sure that the administration of Dr. Holness, in partnership with the security forces, will not back down in our move to bring an end to the murderous endeavor. Again, sir, as I close, this is by no means a victory lap. Let's be clear about that. But let the message across every crevice and corner of Jamaica, let every don, every shotter, every killy, or quenga, as they call them, every enabler and facilitator of violent crime understand that the government of Jamaica is winning and will win the fight against violent crime. We are serious about creating a society that is safer and more secure for all Jamaicans. Thank you, sir.
Senator Tim.
You got it right this time.
I was expecting to be corrected. Thank you very much, Senator Fitzhenley. Senator Tim.
I don't need the podium. I'm sorry that we hadn't had more time to prepare. We weren't aware that this sort of statement would be given. But certainly, we acknowledge the work of the security forces, and we understand the difficult circumstances within which they work. This is a society that is post-slavery, post-colonialism, and we are all living in the afterlife of the legacies of deep violence and deep inequality that finds its way into what we call crime today. In relation to this, we also acknowledge that the government has taken heed. We have long been championing the cause of intelligent policing. We acknowledge the decline in the use of SOEs has also come in tandem with this reduction in murders. But we also reiterate that we pay attention to Indicom's charge that we don't want a situation where our public loses faith in the police because of the high fatalities that we are all seeing. The numbers speak for themselves. We are at a 40-year high in terms of police fatalities. The highest recorded was in 1985 when we had 365 fatalities at the hands of the police, and we have to pay attention to these numbers. The projected number is 308 for the year. That is the highest, in fact, over 250% in the last 6 years. And these are concerning numbers that we can't afford to lose sight of. The context, therefore, demands for us to think about questions of security and perception of security among the public beyond numbers in terms of reduction in murders. And in that case, I think we would all agree that Jamaicans want to live in a society in which they feel safe, regardless of where they come from, regardless of whether their communities have zones of special operation functioning there, or whether they live in more affluent communities, and that we think about these numbers in terms of the contradictory evidence that we have, and how it is that we seek to build a nation in which all Jamaicans, regardless of who they are, feel safe in this society.
Senator Tame, just to indicate to you, right, if you look at Standing Orders 11, the provision in relation to motions at on the adjournment, the 11 says any member after public business has been entered upon may rise in his place and ask for the leave of the President of the Senate to bring to the attention of the Senate a matter of what the President would consider to be of national importance. There is no advance warning to me. When I got the message or the request from Senator Fitzhenley today, I brought it to the attention of the leader, Scott Motley. So I would not have been in a position to give you notice. I'm just indicating that. And normally, there is no really extensive debate in relation to these matters, but I'm giving the members a brief time, 5 minutes each, if they wish to make a contribution, because I consider it important. Anybody over here? Senator Tavares Vincent. Senator Tavares Vincent.
Mr. President, today I rise to talk about a topic that affects every Jamaican, and that is public safety and how our government's financial investments in the Jamaica Constabulary Force over the last 9 years have contributed to real progress in reducing crime across the nation. Mr. President, I go further to congratulate the Prime Minister, the Honourable Dr. Andrew Holness, and indeed the Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang. Mr. President, I remember watching the proceedings in this very chamber and recall the other side talking about a crime plan. And every week they were calling for a crime plan. But little did they know, Mr. President, this government was embarking on one of the largest crime management strategies this hemisphere has ever seen. Mr. President, since 2016, the government of Jamaica has made unprecedented and sustained investments in national security, with a significant portion directed towards strengthening the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Between 2016 and 2025, the government has invested more than 87 billion in national security, nearly 3 times the amount spent in the 8 years prior to 2016. Mr. President, let me break down these investments into 3 key areas. Personnel, 2, equipment and technology, and 3, infrastructure, and then explain how these have correlated to, indeed, the reduction of crime. Investments in personnel. A police force is only as effective as the number and quality of its officers. Over the past 9 years, there has been a deliberate effort to expand and strengthen the human capacity of the JCF. Mr. President, the force has grown from under 11,000 officers to over 14,000 officers, with around 6,000 new recruits trained, even during challenging times like the COVID-19 pandemic. This increase in human capital has improved police visibility, community engagement, and rapid response capabilities across neighborhoods and parishes. More officers on the ground mean more patrols, more investments, and a stronger presence where it matters most. Investments in equipment and technology. Beyond numbers, what officers carry and use matters. In recent years, the government has prioritized equipping the JCF with modern technology and equipment to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. In 2005 alone, over $650 million worth of high-tech equipment, including portable data radios, handheld devices, and mobile printers, were delivered to officers across the country in 2025. The expansion of the Jamaica ICCTV network is underway, with plans to install thousands of additional cameras island-wide, enabling real-time monitoring and quicker responses to incidents. Digital systems have been introduced in police stations, such as electronic station records and case management, replacing paper logs and allowing officers to track, share, and act on information faster. Investment in fleet management and mobility has resulted in over 1,800 motor vehicles being procured for the force since 2016, significantly improving response times and coverage. Additionally, through initiatives like the Security Strengthening Project, computers, network equipment, and software have been acquired to enhance investigative capacities and training in technology-driven crime fighting. This push towards modern equipment and integrated technology is important because it gives officers the tools needed to respond to complex crimes, share intelligence instantly, and manage information in ways that were not possible before. 3, investments in infrastructure. Equipment and personnel need support, and that comes in the form of modern infrastructure. Over the past 9 years, the government has constructed and refurbished many police facilities, new divisional headquarters, upgraded stations, and programs and transforming the physical environment of policing. Improved infrastructure boosts morale, operational readiness, and community engagement with a professional environment that signals both authority and service to the public. Mr. President, I must add the success of the use of the states of public emergency and note that in the vast majority of divisions they have been used, we have saved many Jamaican lives. And I want to call on the opposition to rethink their approach and work with the government of Jamaica on that particular matter.
Point of order, Mr. President. Point of order. Mr. President.
Senator Brown.
Yes. The standing order requires that motions on adjournment be not controversial. And it's clear to me that this coordinated attempt to use a motion on adjournment to lambast the opposition is to bring this debate into controversy. And I therefore urge you to ask the speakers who are endeavoring to play politics and a motion like this to desist. Because I can respond. I can respond in kind. I do not intend to do that because we abuse the purpose of a motion and adjournment.
Thank you.
Which is something supposed to get us together. So I just want to, on a point of order, raise the question that it is in contravention of the standing orders.
What you have raised is not a point of order. What you are really saying, however, I take note of. You are saying quite rightly that this debate should not be a question that is controversial. I do not believe that recognizing the security forces and the government, recognizing their role in reducing violent crime and murder, I do not consider it to be controversial. Continue.
That's not my point. My point is not about the congratulations of the security
All right,
forces.
thank you very
My
much.
point is about the abuse by the speakers. That's of the opposition.
So you're
It's
here.
not,
All right,
that's my point.
Look here,
but,
if I
but
hear,
if you wish to do that, that's fine.
If I
That's
hear,
the way you want to end the year.
If I
not
hear,
on gratitude, but as division, that's fine.
If I hear anybody abusing the opposition, I'll put a stop to it immediately. Senator Tavares Vincent.
Mr. President, now the critical question: has this investment worked? The data suggests a clear correlation between these strategic investments and the significant reduction in crime, especially in violent crimes such as murder. For example, as of mid-2025, Jamaica recorded a 43.3% reduction in murders compared to the previous years, reaching the lowest levels observed in decades. Government reports have highlighted double-digit declines in major crimes, including shootings and robberies, while victimization rates remain among the lowest in the region. Through sustained investment, reductions in gang activity and organized crime have also been noted, particularly where intelligence-led operations have been enabled by better technology and training. The results do not come from chance. They reflect effective policy making, deliberate planning, resources, and a focus on modernizing law enforcement and supporting communities. In closing, Mr. President, I note with great sadness the report of a triple murder in Frasersfield, Clarendon, where a man hacked to death several of his family members. There is still much work to be done in the area of domestic violence, however. Social intervention has to play a critical role in solving these kinds of disputes before they turn deadly. The Jamaican government's financial investments in the JCF over the last 9 years, increasing personnel, upgrading equipment and technology, and improving infrastructure have played a pivotal role in strengthening our national policing capability. We are committed without any excuse or delay to confronting crime and restoring safety in every community across this island. With strong legislative changes, fair justice, and partnership with the people, we will secure peace and protect the future of our nation. Mr. President, crime reduction is multifaceted, and no single strategy works alone. But the evidence shows that when we support our security professionals with the right resources, we see measurable positive outcomes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Tavares Vincent. Senator Sinclair.
I heard that Sutter was coming.
What was it? I didn't hear it. Tell
Well,
me.
I heard it, but no, that everybody over on this side is speaking. But when it is of national importance, and I believe that everybody should speak. But in any event, pardon me, Mr. President. Yes. Yes. So, Mr. President, I just made a few notes having regard to the fact that my colleague, Senator, raised this debate on the motion for adjournment. And it caused me to reflect on my journey in this Senate, where I came here in 2016. And when I came here, the murder rate in Jamaica, and particularly I want to say in St. James, from where I come, was on the increase from 2010. When we had a state of emergency in the Tivoli incursion, we saw a decline taking place. But in St. James, Mr. President, between 2012 to 2016, we saw a year-on-year increase of 20% per annum in the murder rate. And it rose when you look on the actual numbers. We got to a point where over 354 persons in the parish of St. James were murdered in 1 year. Today, we have seen a significant reduction. The last report that came from the Senior Superintendent of Police at a council meeting at which I was present identified about 59 persons being murdered in this year. So we have moved from a high of 354 in 2017, I believe it was, to 54 murders. I know sometimes we speak of even those numbers, Mr. President. I don't believe some persons actually appreciate the decline and the good that we are achieving in this significant downward trend. Sometimes, to get it across, I put it in a dollar figure. And if you were to take an average funeral expense, and I'm not talking about the dead yard and the night and the clothes and so forth that persons get for funerals. I'm speaking about just the funeral expense that is paid to a funeral parlor. Average it out at about $600,000. At 354 murders, you're looking at over $212 million being buried. Something that could have gone towards the improvement of the individual, the families that would have to pay out these large sums. But beyond that, we have the destruction of the family, the destruction of the community, the burden on the health facility. And I was pleased when I heard the comments from a senior medical practitioner who practices in the public system in St. James, Dr. Delroy Frey, when he pointed that out, that with the reduction of murders in the Cornwall Regional Hospital, they have freed up a lot of resources to saving persons who come in with other ailments, Mr. President. So the reduction that we have seen is quite significant in a broad way, and we must appreciate and take note of the reductions that we have achieved over the years. Mr. President, when I came to the Senate, we passed several legislation, and I feel very proud to be a part of that. We have had several debates in relation to other crime-fighting strategies, the state of emergency, which all of us on this side supported on every occasion that it came. And we understand the challenges that may have affected some persons, but we had to take on the greater duty to protect lives of Jamaicans. And the state of emergency, Mr. President, the state of emergency in St. James, in the first year of the implementation, we moved from 354 to 101 murders in 1 year, saving over 200 lives. Mr. President, the zone of special operation legislation, the law reform zones of special operation, special security, and community development measures. The first one was implemented in St. James at Mount Salem. And you know, today we are here and laid on the table in the Senate. Today are several ministry papers coming out of that particular legislation. We have several, and I will only refer to those that are in St. James and Western Jamaica. So we have the Mount Salem Zozo. We have the Norwood Zozo, and we have that from Savannah Lamar. There are others that have been implemented in different areas in Jamaica, but I'm from Western Jamaica. I tend to want to highlight what are the achievements in that particular area. And if you go through the record, as stated in these documents, Mr. President, outside of just the security measures, you see a lot of social improvement, things that change the psyche of the persons who reside in these spaces. And, you know, I must commend in Norwood. Pardon me? Here it is, handwritten. Handwritten. No, it's handwritten. But in Norwood, Mr. President, in Norwood. What? I just made these notes. In Norwood, Mr. President, in Norwood, Mr. President, Norwood celebrated 0 murders since the implementation of Zozo in St. James. No murders in Norwood. Mr. President, the National Youth Service Corps Act, when it came here, some comments, oh, we're going to train persons in a particular way, etc., etc. Persons had their opposition to it. Those are these very same persons out of that training are persons who bolstered and increased the numbers of persons who have put boots on the ground through the Jamaica Constabulary Force, moving the number from 8,000 to 14,000. Moving in the Jamaica Defense Force, the numbers from 4,000 to 8,000 members of the Jamaica Defense Force, we are able to put boots on the ground through this particular training program that was implemented by the Honourable Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. Other legislation, and I see my colleague from the private sector, and I must mention Project STAR, that was implemented by the private sector in St. James and across other communities in Jamaica, coming through the private sector, but partnering with government agencies in social intervention measures up in the Salt Spring area. So we can achieve partnership in this same crime fight, Mr. President, and I believe that it has done significantly well in that regard. So while I commend the law enforcement agency in respect to their activities, I also commend the private sector for their involvement in bringing down the murder rate in Jamaica. The training that we have seen through Heart Trust, right across Jamaica, certification of persons, putting them in a position that they can go out and fend for themselves, which has brought down our unemployment rate to the lowest that we now see in Jamaica. Persons can feel better about themselves, go about earning an income, taking care of their families, and staying away from crime. That has been done by this administration. So what we have seen, when you look on it globally, is that we now have a reduction by 43% in murder. And we must not just take it that it is something that is happening in this year. Because since 2020, since the measures started to take effect, we have seen a gradual percentage decrease in murder from 2020. It is not just now. It's just that we have gotten to 43%. And if we continue in this particular way, Mr. President, I believe that we will go significantly further and bring down the murder rate to what causes all of Jamaica to feel safe. I want to, as my friend did, because the Honourable Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Anthony Chan, is my member of Parliament. And I must give commendations to him. Because, you know, let me get quite personal. When Dr. Chang informed me that he was going to take up the post of Minister of National Security, I asked him if he was a madman. And Dr. Chang said, well, he feels it as his duty and obligation to the government and to the people of Jamaica to take on the task. Dr. Chang stood by when a lot of persons at the beginning of his entry into this particular ministry, a lot of persons were critical. You would see on social media and other places how they would have made comments that I found to be offensive. But there's one thing I know about my member of parliament, is that he's a person who acts on a plan. He knows how to plan, and his plan is not for the short term. He is a man that believes in sustainability in whatever it is that he does. So he has gone around, Mr. President, under this particular portfolio. He has improved police stations. He has built new police stations. And when you even look in Mount Salem, when you look in Westmoreland, on the number of new police stations that have been built and are being built under this particular Minister of National Security, he must get the highest commendation. Our police, Jamaica Constabulary Force, has been resourced to the best. When other people were defunding the police, Minister Harris Chang ensured that our Jamaica Constabulary Force and our law enforcement apparatus was resourced to the best that this government and this economy can support. So I want to give high commendation to Dr. Harris Chang. He understood the task, and he has carried out the task to the best, and the results are proving. The records are there, Mr. President. In the reduction of murder, you know, you just threw me off there, right? You know. But in the reduction of murder and the creation of the perception of peace, and I am happy that the Honourable Prime Minister has added to that ministry. It's no longer just the Ministry of National Security, but the Ministry of National Security and Peace. I believe that we have done significantly well as a government. All the parties, all the stakeholders involved. And I trust that we will continue along this trajectory, and Jamaica will achieve its desired outcome. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, might the Senate be permitted to sit beyond 1:30 to complete the business of the day?
Members should have heard the question. Those in favor? Senator Bernard.
I want to make a few comments in relation to the discussion on the murder figures. And I want to acknowledge the work that has gone into the modernization of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and no doubt that has assisted. I also want to acknowledge all the other partnerships that have been engaged under this effort. But there's one that I think we have left out, Senator Sinclair, and that is the important partnership with communities and community-based organizations. I think a lot of engagement has been undertaken from the end of the police to engage with the communities, to engage with the citizens, to engage with the various organizations, to improve on that relationship that can build safer communities. So I want to also acknowledge that partnership. I want to also acknowledge the partnerships with individuals within communities who we consider to be, some people call them gatekeepers, but I consider these people or these individuals to be important institutions that are able to help the JCF in navigating how they police particular spaces. Not all the spaces are conducive to a standardized way of policing. And so by engaging these community leaders in the process, I think that would have brought about some amount of reduction, because the partnership or the effort to police communities is not only a law enforcement effort, but it's a community effort. And so I want to acknowledge that relationship in the overall reduction of the figures, Mr. President. I also want to ask that we move with some amount of alacrity to implement body-worn cameras. I think this is important, Senator, for us to better understand and appreciate the nuances when we have the conversation about the reduction in homicides and the increase in police fatal shootings. So if we can do more, I would say let us move to improve on this area where we expedite the use of body-worn cameras. So again, Mr. President, thank you very much for the indulgence, and I look forward to the next phase of reducing crime in a sustainable manner.
Thank you very much, Senator Bernard. Senator Duncan, go ahead. This is not your maiden outing.
No, I don't think that. I acknowledge Don.
Let us treat it like a maiden outing.
All right.
Give him a...
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I could not stand here today and hear this because I'm hearing this the first time. I knew nothing about this. Okay, guys? And when I became president of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica in 2019, and there was this large hue and cry, we don't have a plan. There's no crime plan. There's nothing happening. And, I could have jumped on the bandwagon, right? I could have easily jumped on the bandwagon, and it's because the numbers were all over the place, and Jamaica, we're living in fear. I went and I sat down with Dr. Horace John, and he pulled out Plan Secure Jamaica for me. And I went and I sat with the Commissioner of Police, and he pulled out Plan Secure Jamaica for me and all the pillars of Plan Secure Jamaica. Social transformation, JCF modernization and reforms, JDF correctional reforms, legislation, all of the social transformation, all of the key pillars of Plan Secure Jamaica, and the plan to resource it with human resources and funding for Plan Secure Jamaica. And, I am happy to say that from 2017 to 2018 until now, the level of reduction in murders, and it didn't just start, it was a major investment made with all the skepticism that existed. And myself as president of the PSOJ had to jump behind it because I saw continuity in policy. What I saw was a commitment to policy, to a policy direction and a strategy and an executable strategy that was occurring, right? And I worked closely with the Commissioner of Police at the time, Anthony Anderson at the time, and we came up with Project STAR. And that was private-public partnership, a partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force. And this went along with the Community Security Safety Branch, which was built out and resourced to be able to do the work in the communities. Right? So there was a deliberate and structured effort around social and economic transformation of communities, as evidenced by Zoso. Right? So therefore, whenever I see a plan, and a plan that we can jump behind as a country in the very same way we all as a country got behind fiscal responsibility for us to be able to achieve macroeconomic stability. If we get behind a plan to secure Jamaica and our citizens of Jamaica, all of us as a country, all of society approach, we must jump on board. No, we're not going to be happy with all the tools and the toolkit that we have to use from time to time. But the government of the day has the responsibility to lead. And leadership was provided, and that's why we're seeing the results we're getting. So what we want for it, Senator Bernard, is for the same kind of investment, the community engagement, etc., and that is a key pillar on the Plan Secure Jamaica. To build on that effort, socio-economic transformation of our communities, engagement of our communities so that they own it, so it's sustainable. And that is what we want to do as a country. And I believe we're on a good track, and I believe we can sustain it, and it can only go lower if, as a country, we get behind the government of the day. Thank you very much.
Minister?
That's not a maiden, you know. That's occupied.
Mr. President, I just going to crave your indulgence. I'm not going to extend this, but on a point of clarification, if you would indulge me, because I actually had two senior moments earlier trying to recall two acronyms. The Infrastructure for Resilient Island States, IRIS, Infrastructure for Resilient Island States. I'm sorry, you know, these things bother me greatly. We'll talk about it after. Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, the CDRI, was the other initiative which I mentioned. If you recall, I was here on my feet trying to recall what CDRI stood for. It is the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. But I also wanted to mention for clarity and ask Senator Morris if he would convey to Senator Scott Motley. She had asked me directly a question about transparency in the distribution. And it's related to your later question about the actual numbers of distribution of care packages, etc. But I wanted to remind and place on the record and ask you to convey to her that Prime Minister had mandated ODPEM to develop a platform for clarity and for sharing of the distribution locations, the number of drops, etc. And it has been added to the supportjamaica.gov.jm platform. And if you even look today, you will see that the projected drops for today in St. Elizabeth are set out for Newton, Giddy Hall, Prospect, Fustic Grove, Harmony Hall, Thornton, Jointwood, Cameron Hill, Whitehall. You get the picture. Straight through, as well as you will find that there are also numbers there in terms of the number of drops each day and the number of packages distributed. So because identification is not being requested, you won't be able to find that Miss Joan in Thornton received 2 care packages and a tarpaulin, but you will see the numbers, the broader numbers, and the areas in which they're being given. So I think this is a massive improvement to the system that is coming from in terms of ODPEM. Supportjamaica.gov.jm, supportjamaica.gov.jm. So the link is right there for you to see the platform for sharing of this information. So persons who are also looking and listening from overseas, and you have been asking about transparency as well, and how do you know your donations are making it to whom, if you have followed the rules, if you have followed the guidance, if you have consigned to ODPEM, this is the path that they take. The JDF has established 8 outposts with sub-outposts, and they are distributed. The mechanisms are now monitored and distributed and tabulated by ODPEM and posted on the website. Chalk and cheese to what existed before. So again, this is the kind of reason why ODPEM was moved under the ODPM and the leadership was changed, was to bring new vision and new implementation and improvements to some of the gaps that existed before. So I wanted to make sure that this was conveyed, as an exact question had been asked by a senator, and I had failed to answer it when I was first on my feet. That being said, Mr. President, if I could take this opportunity to thank members, to again say to the newest members of the Senate, I hope your first term has been productive and interesting and rewarding, and that on both sides, yes, on both sides, and also, of course, to commend and encourage them in the work that lies ahead. This legislative period has been relatively slow because we were interrupted by Melissa fairly early in the term. But we anticipate that things will pick up more on the other side of the new year. So we already know that we have 2 bills tabled. So I encourage you to read the one that relates to expungement and the one that relates to JAMPRO to prepare for your first debates so that you can feel as prepared as possible. You can look at them over the Christmas, and we'll take them early. But also, Mr. President, to take the opportunity to wish everyone, to thank the parliamentary staff for the year, for the work that they have done straight through. The orderlies, the marshal, the kitchen staff, the administrative staff, the security staff, everyone who makes the machinery work, our Hansard team, our librarian, Tony, who has been faithfully making sure that there is inclusive communication of the work of the Senate, the new members that have joined the team on the legal side, on the parliamentary council side. We really want to thank everyone for all that they do to make the parliament work for the people of Jamaica. And we want to wish you and your families, each and every one of you, every blessing of the season, for this and into the new year. Madam Clerk, you have also been here during a very difficult time, and we want to welcome you. This was your first full year as clerk, as Madam Clerk. I know you did a fair bit of travel, engaging with colleagues internationally and building on your portfolio of experience and best practices. So we know you will be deploying those in the year ahead to the benefit of this parliament and both chambers of this parliament. So we commend you on the work that you have done. We wish you well and continued improvements to your deputy and to the new team that is here with you as well, Ms. Bradford. And you and the community, committee teams, etc., we will all be on board for an active 2026. Again, every blessing to you, Mr. President, as I see you looking deeply into my eyes, signaling that I have not mentioned you personally. So yes, Mr. President, thank you for your guidance, your leadership, and your even-handed management.
You have given me something to Senator Golden to laugh at me about, you know.
But of course.
I assure you,
something else
you misread the look.
It could have been a look of hunger, but and the signal to wrap up. But I'm taking it as one to mention and thank you for your leadership, your guidance, and your continued commitment to serving the people of Jamaica. With that, Mr. President, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Morris.
I want to, on behalf of the opposition, join with the sentiments expressed by the leader of government business, wishing all the members of the Senate a happy holiday season. To the staff of the Parliament, we thank you and we appreciate the tremendous effort that you have made over the past year. And included in that, as Minister mentioned, Tony, who is in her 11th year of signing in the Parliament, because the sign language interpretation was introduced when I was President of the Senate in 2014. And so I commend you, Tony, for your dedication in that regard. I want to thank the media for their tremendous support and making sure that what we do here in the Parliament is broadcast to the wider Jamaican family. And to the broader Jamaican family, I want to say to those especially in the western portion of our country, that we are with you in this time of difficulties. And one of the things, Mr. President, that I loved and I appreciate about Jamaica, and the Minister would have heard it from external partners, is that when Jamaicans decide that they are going to get together to support them one another, no government, no political party can stop them. And we saw that where every Jack man and Ginny woman, every Sunday or Saturday or during the week, were on their way to Western Jamaica to give support to their brothers and sisters, because we are not going to allow them to suffer and die. And we want to wish them all the best for the holiday season. And I say to every Jamaican, as we celebrate this season, remember the real reason for the season. And that is, many, many years ago, our Lord and Savior came on earth. It might not have been the 25th of December, but that is the day that has been recognized. Our Lord was born and came to save us all and make sure that in this season we reflect on the reason for the season. May it please you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senator Morris. Yeah, that's my yes. Thank you very much.